The basic setup page interacts with and impacts all the following screens/pages in the application. It should be completed before trying to enter data into following screens/pages. Dates for this application. Beginning date. Enter the date the candidate began their first agricultural education course of the year they first became an FFA member. For example, candidate's first agricultural education course began August 15, 2021. Candidate was added to the FFA membership roster in September 2021. Enter August 15, 2021 for the beginning date. Example 2. Candidate's first agricultural education course began August 20, 2020, but candidate chose not to become an FFA member until starting their second agricultural education course on August 17, 2021. Enter August 17, 2021. No records or information from before August 17, 2021 can be included in the application. Ending date. Enter the year prior to the National FFA Convention year, in which the application will be submitted for competition. Example, the ending date for an application that will be submitted in 2025 must have an ending date of 2024. Only records and activities that occurred prior to the ending date of the application are eligible to be entered into the application. Any mention of records, skills, events, or activities which occur after the ending date will cause the application to be penalized. Wanting to add years to an application already started in a prior year? Changing the ending date will allow additional years of records to be entered into the application.
A couple of reminders about the beginning date on the application. The beginning date cannot be prior to the date they have on their membership check for their first year in FFA. So you can see on this application, they started in 2016, and that is also the year that they started their records for their American degree application. It says when they were first eligible for their agricultural education course, but if you are not an affiliated chapter and the member didn't join FFA the first year they were in agricultural education class, then they cannot start their records until they actually became an FFA member.
SAE types. Click each SAE type for which records will be included in the application. The appropriate pages of the application for each SAE type will appear when the type is selected. Research. This application type is for research SAE projects. Placement. This application type is for all placement/internship SAE projects and some service learning SAE projects. Entrepreneurship. This application type is for ownership/entrepreneurship SAE projects, school-based enterprise SAE projects, and some service learning SAE projects. Assets. Assets are items of value that you own and used in developing your SAE program. Value at beginning date. The dollar value of items owned by the candidate on the beginning date specified above in the application. Enter a value in the appropriate box for any such items. Example. The candidate had $690 in their checking account on the beginning date entered in the application. This should be entered into box 1A. The candidate also owned a 3-year-old purebred Angus cow. The value of this animal should be entered on line 2B. Read the question mark icons in the application for more information. Only include assets owned personally by the candidate. Do not include family-owned assets. Value ending date. The dollar values of cash and items owned by the candidate on December 31st of the application ending date.
A couple of reminders and tips when filling out the basic setup page when it comes to your assets and the values that you place in this portion of the application is that these values should only be related to your SAE project. The money you have invested in your project is all that you're recording on this application. So this person shows, for example, that they had $10,000 for their beginning value and they had $50,000 for their ending value for their cash on hand, their checking and savings. This is important because this increase should be reflected based on the amount of money that this person made in their SAE projects over the years of their project. The cash value, the bonds, stocks, life insurance should only be reported here if you cash them out to invest them in your SAE project. The same goes for notes and accounts receivable. Your current inventory are the items that you have when you started your SAE project that you had purchased and intended to use up within a year or resell within the year. Non-current inventory are items that you had on hand before you started your SAE project that you plan to keep for more than a year. So breeding stock, they gave an example of someone who started with a cow that they had on in their inventory, and they put the value here. So just a couple of tips and reminders, the money should only be related to your SAE project. Just to give you an example of how the question marks are helpful, if you hover over the question mark, it will open up a box with some information in it that can help you fill out your application. I was telling you before that the values that you put in this portion of the application, or actually in all parts of the application, should be items of value that you own and use in developing your SAE program. If we hover over the information or the question mark for the cash on hand, again, if you take a look at the last sentence, it says that these cash values would be the ones you have available to support and develop your SAE program. If you just put in the values related to your SAE projects, it should help balance out your net worth in the application and make the numbers work out better for you. And so just pay attention to what you're putting in for values and make sure that you have a good inventory of your SAE current and non-current assets.
Liabilities, money the candidate owes to others, debts, that is related to their SAE program. Beginning and ending values are entered.
So, as it just said, liabilities are monies that the FFA member owes that they borrowed money to purchase something for their SAE project. In this example, this student has a loan that they used to purchase a large piece of equipment. You can see that their loan is broken up into two different parts. The current portion is in letter B. And if we hover over the question mark, it tells this is the current portion due in 12 months, the principal on the equipment, machinery, the livestock, whatever they took the loan out for. And so this would have been what they owed as current monies that they spent out in their last year of their SAE project. This would be in the end of 2023 for this individual. That would have been their current debt. The other portion is down here in their non-current liabilities, and this is determined by subtracting the current portion from the total non-current liability. So their total loan that they still owe money on, they subtract out the current portion, and whatever remains they record here in letter D. So this person has left to pay yet on their piece of equipment or in their liability $37,050. So we do not put vehicles in here unless they have been purchased specifically for the SAE project. So students who have bought themselves cars, unless it's related to their SAE project, then they do not record those here. This is only liabilities related to their SAE project.
Personal cash income and expenses. This section represents personal items that were used as resources to support the development of the SAE program. These are values from beginning to all years in the application. Only enter dollars and items that are directly related to the SAE projects included in the application.
The personal cash income and expense section of the basic setup page is where you are going to put the personal items that you used as resources to support the development of your SAE program. So you are going to fill these values in, and you're going to count every year from beginning date to ending date. So if you have 6 years of records, you need to add up all 6 years and put the total in these boxes. The first one in letter A is a source of cash gifts. These are monies that you received from others. So, an example would be scholarships that you received for your post secondary education. If you have them listed here, like this student had $11,600 in scholarships, they had to offset them in their educational expenses below. So you'll notice those two numbers match. If you received a cash gift of an SAE grant, that money could go here as well. Source of cash from ag-related non-SAE and personal earnings. This would be other jobs you had outside of your SAE project. They could be ag-related or personal non-ag work that you did. But you took the money that you earned from those other jobs and put it towards your SAE program. So only put money there if the money you earned in your other jobs actually went towards your SAE project. C is the total personal expense or draw. This is your money that you spent on yourself. And so it could include your federal income taxes, state taxes, anything taken out of your paycheck. It also includes all the money you spent on meals, entertainment, personal expenses. And so you will have to adjust this. If you kept track of every single dollar you spent, good for you. If not, then you're going to need to adjust this probably to help make your numbers balance. So this individual had a lot of personal expenses. They bought some big assets for themselves. And so the money that they earned from their SAE project, they spent quite a bit of it on personal expenses. The last one is letter D is educational expenses. We already talked about how this student offset their scholarships with their educational expenses. But remember, I told you if you put post secondary education on your cover page, you have to show educational expenses were taken out right here. This is the place where you have to record those educational expenses. So if on your cover page you put down that you attended a technical college or university, you have to show educational expenses here. If you did not show a post secondary school, you do not have to show educational expenses that were taken out. An important note on the basic setup page is that your numbers that you put in section D here for your current inventory, and this is for entrepreneurship applications, this total of all these numbers will transfer to your income and expense summary. So this individual has $685 listed here. So if we go to the income and expense summary, then it will show in the current assets. Right here that their beginning current inventory was $685. That was all of their current inventory assets at the beginning of their SAE project added up. And since they had one entry, that one went there. You'll also notice the same is true for their non-current inventory, which is in section 4 on the income and expense summary. Their beginning inventory is $600. If we go back to the basic setup page, we will see that the assets they have listed in their non-current inventory is $600. So if we add these all up, that equals their beginning inventory. Other numbers that will transfer from the basic setup page to another page in the application are the liabilities. This individual has a current portion of their liabilities shown here in $18,200, and then their non-current portion, the $37,050 listed here. If we go to the liability page, it will show that they transferred those numbers onto that page. So you can see over here that those numbers are in blue text. That means they transferred from another page. So you can't edit those or change them. They add the two up to show the person's total liabilities. The final numbers I'm going to talk about transferring are the numbers in the personal cash income and expenses. So if we go back and look at that net worth page, we can see the $11,600 that was a source of cash gifts. That was the scholarship. Here's the $10,000 that this person started with in their bank account, the scholarships they received. This is their personal expenses. So again, you can see these numbers are all in blue text and underlined, which means they transferred from another page that you entered these numbers on. So these came from the basic setup page. And then of course the educational expenses here. So these numbers from the basic setup page in the lower portion, your personal expenses and income, all transferred to here.